And we are back on the SIAC sit down, and we are privileged to talk to head football coach of Jackson State University, T.C. Taylor. Coach Taylor, it is great speaking to you, and I've been following your career for years, and what you've been able to do. Talk about, and I speak from a SIAC perspective, so we got a couple of matchups with the SIAC this year. I know talked about the schedule, but we also love these matchups, these crossover deals, and when it comes to just what our league actually does, it's a good thing. Talk about your team this year.
I'm excited about them. You know, again, with the way of college football, the landscape, teams and rosters are looking new each and every year. So, you know, it's really a challenge to coaches on this level to recruit, you know, and then getting guys to buy in. That's a challenge for me as a head coach. You're also losing just as many coaches as players. So it's important you get these guys in. Once you get your numbers in the building for as coaches, players and everything, getting everybody to buy into what we're there for. And that's winning championships. And we're excited about this football season, man. You know, we had a great season last year. We've been having a great run. I was just telling somebody, man, I feel like the vet around here now.
You are
going into year 4, you know, so done had a lot of success. But I give it all back to my players and coaches and these fans. You know, they've been doing a great job for us. But the schedule, I'm excited about it. You know, you talked about we opened up with Tennessee State. And then, you know, to get the good friend of mine, Brian Jinks, what he's doing down at Edward Waters. I can think back when I was at Central going against him when he was at Bethune. You know, so he's been in the SWAC at Alabama State, and he's doing good things at Edward Waters. I think Dooley's down there with him, another guy that's a great offensive football mind that I got a lot of respect for. And then that next week, Aaron James, that's my guy, Tuskegee. And then you talk about the tradition, you know, the HBCU brand. I know people were kind of tough on us about us not having that FBS game, but I thought this was a great opportunity for Aaron James to come play at Jackson State. Brian Jinks to come play at Jackson State. You know, it means just as much for them to come play a program like us. So I'm excited about this year.
Absolutely, and I'm gonna tell you, we've had interviews with them. They are excited about coming down to the Jack, as people say. Good friend of mine, you know, talks about Jackson State all the time. I've been in that environment, so it's exciting for both coaches and players. Now, when it comes to just the matchups in general, you talked about Brian Jenkins. You talked about, you know, what a heck of a coach he is. What do you anticipate about that matchup in general?
What I can remember going against him, they're aggressive. You know, he's going to play good defense. That's the first thing first. He hangs his hat on playing good defense, and he has a lot of playmakers on that offensive side of the football. He's going to have that team ready to go. You know, he always played a clean football game. What I mean by that, if it was supposed to be 11 guys on the field, there was only 11 guys on the field. You don't have 10 guys, 12 guys. And then schematically, like I said, they get after you. You know, they're going to be very well structured. And he's going to bring that to that program and to that game on that day.
Absolutely. And I guess the same question about Aaron James. You know, Tuskegee coming down there and beat them a few years ago. You know, it's one of those things where, you know, he's an alum, like you are an alum of Jackson State.
So he
has pride in his school. Talk about what that's like.
It's a lot of pride in his school. You know, Aaron James, and when he walks out there, he got the tight shirt on.
Oh yeah, listen.
It looked like he just got up off the bench press. And those players, they behind him. You know, it was a good football game. We played them in Jackson last year, so they kind of know how, you know, what to expect, how things are going to go that day, as far as you know, what kind of football team Jackson State going to be. So I know they're going to bring their A game. You know, so we got to be ready to play. We don't take any opponent lightly. We take Saturday serious, especially at the vet. One thing about us, we had a lot of losing games in the vet. You know, these fans come out, it's tough. They right on top of it. You get these 30,000 up in there. They're going to be loud. It's going to be rough. But it's going to be a good football game, and I know that he'll have them ready to play.
Absolutely. Talk about your team coming back. You have a squad with a bad taste in their mouth from last year and losing that SWAC championship game. Talk about how the spring has been going into this fall.
Yeah, that's the goal. You know, we want to go host that SWAC championship game again. Anytime you could play for another SWAC championship game against a good Prairie View team and lose it the way we did by 2 points, that's tough. In front of your home fans, that leaves a bad taste in your mouth. And, you know, we got some new guys in there that kind of inherit and understand what's at stake when JSU takes the football field. They have been working their butts off. You know, I hadn't had to do a lot of policing because the players are doing a great job policing. Cam Silas, who's with me here today, Jared Lockhart, Quay Davis, the All-American tackle that we have, as well as some other guys. They are doing a great job of just understanding what's the standard and where we want to be come December.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Coach Taylor, I'm not going to hold you long. I know you got a schedule. I appreciate you coming to talk to the SIAC Sit Down. It's been real. I appreciate you. All right, here on the SIAC Sit Down, one of the many opponents playing 2 SIAC schools this year will be the Jackson State Tigers, playing both Tuskegee and playing Elwood Waters. Starting off with Elwood Waters, it's been big time. So we'll hold you here as we get our next interview.
The one and only head coach of the Savannah State Tigers, Thomas Howard. How you doing, Coach?
How you doing, Coach? Be here with you. I've watched long enough, but to be on the show with you fellas, I'm doing something right.
Hey man, you doing something. You said your prayers, you ate your vitamins, you did it right. Now you're ill.
All right, we are back here on the SIAC Sit Down, Jamie Walker, and we have the head football coach of the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff, Alonzo Hampton. Coach Hampton, how you doing?
Hey, doing great. How you doing?
Absolutely, I'm doing wonderful. Now, cover primarily the SIAC. You have an SIAC matchup with Morehouse this year. Let's talk about how, not necessarily how the matchup developed, because you play whoever on your schedule, but talk about that matchup in general and what you're looking forward to when it comes to it.
Obviously, it's a kickoff classic, so it's week 0 game. It's 2 historic programs with the opportunity to play in a classic. And for us, we're playing in Little Rock, Arkansas. A place has been, Central Arkansas has been good to the UAPB. We have our national award-winning alumni there, Pulaski County Alumni Chapter. They do a great job raising over $200,000 in scholarships, giving back to our university. Every dollar goes back. And then just for us, we have a lot of players that's from the area. And then you have guys that don't normally have opportunity to see us play. They'll be there. And it's the one Saturday that everybody gets a chance to be aligned. You can support whether you're a Razorback fan or you're a Bear or a Wolf. That Saturday you can be aligned. You can root for us. Come out, enjoy the food, the fun, the festivities, and then let's go play some good football.
Absolutely. Joining here with Coach Alonzo Hampton of Pine Bluff. And again, it wasn't the year that you wanted last year. You're coming to this year, and as I know about you, a person that's enthusiastic. But talk about the changes you've made with your program this year to get you ready for this upcoming football season.
Yeah, so what we did is, as a coaching staff, we went back and watched every single game that we played, every conference game, right? Those are the games that matter. All right, so we played Grambling. We were winning the game 16-14, got 4 takeaways. We kicked 3 field goals. We should have won the game. They took the last drive. The ball was on the ground. If we stop them, the game's over. They beat us 20-16. All right. Then you play FAMU. We're up 10-7 right before half. We get dirty eyes. They run a sluggo on us, and they're up 14-10. Now it's back and forth the rest of the game. They beat us by 3. So those are 2 games that we should have won. I tell people the only game that we beat Southern, right? We beat Alcorn. Right? The 2 teams that we've had the hardest of trying to figure out is Prairie View and Texas Southern. And quite honestly, the reason is it's 10 hours travel.
Right.
And so now we're going to change some things around. We're not going to go up on Friday. We're going to go up on Thursday. You got to get there and get those kids rested and get them refreshed. But both of those guys, Coach Dishman and Coach Jackson, those are defense guys that play great defense. And so we have to understand when you play teams that play great defense, you got to be able to match that defense. And our defense this year will be our best defense. Our entire defensive staff is back. And then on offense, we have, in my opinion, we have the best running backs in the conference. And so we got to be able to run the football. And then we got some receivers that you ain't going to be able to guard one-on-one. So we're excited about where we're headed. Like I said, I just saw the predicted order of finish. They got Southern ahead of us. We beat them. They got, who's the other one? Grambling. They beat us. And I'm not sure. You got Prairie View, Texas Southern. Who else is in the West? Alcorn, we beat them in the Southern Hills Classic. So, again, I like being the underdog. I've been the underdog my entire life. And so our outlook on this season is we got to take care of us. Enjoy the process, one game at a time, one play at a time. And at the end of the day, all we got to do is play football.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Coach, for joining us here on the SIAC Sit Down. Good luck with your season this year. All right. All right, that was Coach Alonzo Hampton of University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. I had a quick interview with him, and again, it is busy. They're slightly behind schedule. We were able to get him in and out. Hopefully, we get the opportunity to talk to Coach Eddie Robinson of Alabama State University, who also plays a couple of opponents this year. They played both, I think, and let's go back to the graphic because my memory is horrible. They both have. They have Lane and they have Tuskegee at the end of the year. So again, looking at both of those matchups, it is a thing where they are playing two Division II opponents. So glad you could join us here on the SIAC Sit Down. We're going to take a small break and see if we can get our next interview. Man, it has. All right, we are back here on the SIAC Sit Down, taking a break. And here we have Dr. Malcolm Jones and his new book, Cheated. Dr. Jones, how do you do today?
I'm doing well. What about yourself?
I'm pretty good. Can't complain.
Good.
Now, I know typically we talk SIAC football. We're here at SWAC Media Days talking the crossover games. But talk about your book, because I think it's very important to let the audience know.
Well, I began writing this book reflecting on my life as a college athlete. I went to Alcorn State University where I was a 4-year starter. I played during the Magnet era. At one time, I was rated the number 7 corner in the nation by Mel Kiper. So everything was on the uptick for me, as well as far as playing ball and trying to ascend to the next level, to the NFL. But in that ascension, as I did well on the athletic field, I started to stop going to class and investing the energy and being intentional about my academics on the way up. So, the title of the book is Cheated, and at that time I began cheating myself by not investing that energy and all those things into my academics and personal development like I should have. And I just wrote this book, man. I really want to impact players and coaches to make sure that we're pushing student athletes to be the best that they can possibly be on and off the field.
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, one of our interviews, we talked to one of our head coaches in the SIAC from Allen University, and Cedric Pearl, and he talked about the importance of student athletes. I know, for the NIL and all that's going around, but the main thing being the main thing, getting that college degree is still paramount. Talk about where you kind of lost your way and where within your life you decided to get it back in the road.
Well, the first thing that I'll say that I had two parents that valued education, so I graduated third in my high school class. Academics wasn't an issue for me. It was the lack of focus. You hear your coaches tell you don't read your own press clippings. I began to read my own press clippings. I had a lot of success at playing football. And at the time, I was surrounded by a lot of guys that were being drafted. John Thiel, first round, Brian Mix, second round, Torrance Small and C.C. Tillman, Donald Driver, all these types of guys. And I knew that if you could play at all, especially during that era and that time, they would come there and get those receivers and DBs to go to the next level. But after 2 years of starting, I was preseason All-American, preseason All-Conference. Just lost my way. Began to read my own press clippings and got totally focused on trying to go to the league. And that's where I lost my way. But I tell you, my parents were the X factor. The they're the type that'll reel you in when you get back off track. I had a serious back injury, a surgery, which I came back from and played 2 more years, but I was never the same athlete that I was after the injury. So I was forced to transition into real life. And at that point, you know, you go through things, depression and sadness. You see your friends going on and being drafted, other people moving on to the next level. But I had to make that transition. And so many athletes make the transition and they don't have the credentials or the knowledge or the capacity to move on. And they find some kids that have some struggles along the way finding themselves.
Absolutely. What motivated you to write this particular manuscript? What motivated you to write this book?
Well, I was just reflecting on my life, and I began writing on my life. And once I began writing, I said, it can't just be about my life. This has to be impactful. This has to help somebody. So I went on to reflect on my life in the book, as well as reflect on the system of college athletics. And I also gave a solution to what I thought some of the issues were.
Okay. What kind of relationship do you have with Alcorn at this point? I mean, because listen, you know, Kelvin Carter brought you over here, so listen, he is a passionate Alcornite. He talks trash all the time. And I'm gonna tell you what else he's passionate about.
What's that?
The transition of getting high school athletes from his particular area into HBCUs, because he's talking about all kinds of talent that's there. But talk about your relationship with Alcorn.
Well, I will always be a diehard supporter of Alcorn State University in any way that I can. You know, we have this saying, always Alcorn.
Yes.
So, once a brave, always a brave.
All right, good deal. What's the next progression for you when it comes to this book, and where do you see yourself going next?
That's a great question. This book has provided a platform for me. I've started the national conversation about holistic athlete development. We've got to stop focusing and rewarding only performance on athletic fields, and we have to push them and show them how to build capacity so that when they come to that crossroads, because every athlete that's ever played the game, you come to a day you can't play it. So what's going to happen when you get to that crossroads? I want you to be prepared. This is going to be a national movement. We're creating a non-profit where we're going to go around the country where we're going to develop coaches and teach coaches how to develop kids, as well as developing kids for the future.
All right. Introduce your book one more time before we get out of here.
Well, it's cheated. How American athletics profits from performance while failing to protect those inside it.
All right, Dr. Malcolm Jones, pleasure to have you on the SIAC.
Thank you for the time.
Absolutely. All right, here on the SIAC Sit Down, Dr. Malcolm Jones, absolutely with his book Cheated. Listen, that is very important. When you're talking about athlete and holistic development of the athlete, that is one of those things that you cannot have enough of. And we talk about that a lot, especially on the Division II level. You're talking about professional sports not necessarily being that thing that everyone's going to do, but it is a thing where you can get your degree, you can go on to do huge and greater things. So we're going to take a break as we grab our next interview here on the SIAC Sit Down. All right, we are back here on the SIAC Sit Down, and listen, one of the big timest people in the world, big timest. Yeah, that's a word. That is a word. Listen, AD Drew. First of all, and give your official title. Besides Mr. Everything.
I am Director of Athletic Communications and Athletic Marketing at Morehouse College.
All right, AD. Listen, there are about 10 matchups between the SIAC and the SWAC, the SWAC. Talk about just what you think that can do to a school, in the positive and negative.
Obviously, games against the SWAC helps the brand of the Division II institution that they play. And I'll just take out to games that we have with FCS opponents. Obviously, us going to Little Rock, Arkansas to play Arkansas Pine Love natural state, classic is good, you know. And when you think about the historical significance of that particular game, everybody knows about the civil rights portion of Little Rock with the Central High School, Little Rock 9, and everything else with that. And then when you think about the significance as far as what Morehouse College played in the civil rights movement, in the city of Atlanta, for those two to tap in together in that particular city, in that venue, it's more than football. It's more than football. For us being a brand institution with that cultural significance attached to our institution, so it brings a different level.
AD, that's an excellent point, because I have not thought about it that way in the historical context. And bringing together those two institutions, absolutely. I think it does give the game a lot more significance. Great point, excellent point when it comes to that, because you have a brand in Morehouse that has a historical context. Now, on the flip side of that, playing a school with more scholarships, all the things that goes on, depending on what happens within the game. It could be some other stuff that goes on with it too, but definitely an opportunity. They had. Go ahead.
Let's be real.
Go ahead. Keep it real. Keep it real.
For the FCS schools, SWAC schools, they have everything to lose and nothing to gain by being the SIAC versus the SIAC institution on the other end. Remember 2 years ago?
I do.
When Clark Atlanta beat Bethune?
I do.
Let's think about it. And no matter what Bethune did after that, they still lost to Clark Atlanta. Remember last year, everybody was talking about how Kentucky State got robbed and Grambling.
Yes, Coach Huggins talked about that the other day.
So for them to actually allow us to play and give us a check to when we do beat you, but it boosts the program and it goes so much. It goes not much of a difference between these programs. And it's the same thing when you go FCS and FBS. If you take man on man, 11 for 11, most schools can't compete with each other. What the difference becomes is the depth. Your second 11 is better than my second. It's better than my second. And your third 11 is damn sure better than my third 11.
Absolutely.
That's what it is. And the one thing that on the bad side is you may lose the game. Number one, it gives Division II kid an opportunity to get some film against a higher level of competition, which may be the difference between him getting a draft camp invite as UFA, getting some time to play in Diamond UFL, or getting the opportunity to go to Canada because you have that film against a higher quality, perceived higher quality opponent. Because we do know there's good talent within our conference, but perception is reality when it comes to that. But the downside of that is you always come back beat up. There's somebody significant who you may lose. It may be a quarterback, maybe a D-back, it may be an offensive lineman, whatever. Can you come out of those games? Help. But that's any game. Can you come out of every game? Help. Whoever comes out those games, has a leg up on the competition. In addition to the bragging rights in the barbershop.
Absolutely. We'll have Coach Bradshaw coming up on the SIAC sit down. That'll be on HBCU game day. But again, we're talking to Morehouse SID, AD Drew. You are also, you wear many hats. I'm not going to go into all the hats. I don't have all the heads for all of those hats. However, when it comes to what Morehouse and the expectation, not to go into, but the coaching change, how has that been so far as embracing Coach Rod, kind of embracing the community and just getting ready? I've seen the camp invites and I've seen, a lot of this buzz on social media. Talk about how that transition and relationship is.
Coach Rod's demeanor, he has a quiet demeanor. He's not a hollering and that type of person. At least not. Don't be mistaken.
Don't let him fool you.
He would get in the players, but his delivery method is different than we've seen in the past. He's Duke educated, Duke grad and everything, and because of that, being from an elite institution academically, understand the Morehouse, and because Morehouse is an elite institution academically also, he brings that unique perspective having played at an elite academic institution, in addition to all the coaching accolades that he has done as an assistant coach and a head coach in the IA level that he brings to the table. So it's a breath of fresh air. He's doing his job. Has great vision. The one thing that he's not afraid to ask. He does not come from the HBCU. And he does not. So he's not afraid to ask some of these questions because he doesn't want to get certain things. What's the tradition about this? How do we handle that? What about this? Even down to where they stayed at previously, as far as hotels and things like that. He's very detail oriented because he wants to understand all the different variables. Because when it's all said and done on Saturday, he doesn't want those kids to have an excuse for not being able to perform. If him and his staff make sure all that stuff is done, all they have to do, is coaches concentrate on coaching and players concentrating on players.
Perfect transition. Athletic director Harris said when he was presenting AD, said he wanted to go on inside the HBCU Sports Lab, Dr. Sports Cabills and company. You being a regular on, said something really interesting. And this is just me assuming because me and Sly do a whole lot of that. We put two and two together. Sometimes he was four, sometimes he doesn't. But Coach Sherrod was instrumental in his last stop in them transitioning to another division. And so you talking about those details being oriented and things of that nature. I'm not going to put you. Yes, I am going to put you in the spot. Yes, I'm not going to even tell that lie. Are there thoughts of Morehouse, doing other things and having, other aspirations?
I am not going to give you that sound. But this is what I'm going to tell you. Everybody in the HBCU space knows the Morehouse brand. But the Morehouse brand is an academic brand.
Yes.
It's an academic brand. It's an academic. Morehouse brand has not been athletic. Tradition.
Right.
But do you know that Morehouse is a two-time defending SIAC Commissioner's Cup winner? So the athletic brand is catching up to the academic brand. And that was one of Harold Ellison's missions when he came back to Morehouse to be the athletic director, to make sure that the athletics are on par with the academics. We all know the academics are second to none. Absolutely second to none. And I know that coming from a rival school to work at Morehouse. I respected the academics when I got there. And that comment that he made stemmed off of the fact that we want to be compared with the big dog.
Yes.
The big dog. Yes. Jackson State, Ashley Robinson, they may be the standard, right? You can argue that they're the same. We want to be in that same situation. That's where that stems from. Now, anything beyond that, I'm going to have to leave that out there for y'all to speculate.
Listen, I'm going to clarify on this because this is the SIAC sit-down. We are very, in all schools, are very happy. We are locked in. We are locked in to winning our third consecutive SIAC Commissioner's Cup. Now, you do what you want to do with that statement. But that is our mission. That is our mission. SID 84 Morehouse College. Now, AD, I'm gonna let you get out of here because you're gonna get out of here, and we've been talking about this. I'm looking forward to Media Day next week from Macon, and It is so ironic. That there are a couple of coaches that have transitioned into SWAC from SIAC institution. Does that give the premise that you can do anything from anywhere, when even starting out in SIAC?
It should. And not only have those coaches, a lot of those coaches transition, they've been successful transition. Chen is going to South Carolina State. Even though T-Jack did not come from the SIAC, coming from a Division II to a Division I. You've got Quinn Gray going back to his alma mater, and just missed him at FAMU. He came as I was walking out the door, as I was quarterback when I was out FAMU. Just want to throw it out there. So, but because Jamie, if you can coach, you can coach. That's right. If you can relate to these kids, you can relate to these kids. You know, the talent level may be slightly different. The resources may be different, but the way you approach it should not be because of the level that you're on. And if you are a rah-rah guy, you're going to be a rah-rah guy whether you coach YMCA or the NBA.
That's right.
You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
If you're a low-key, but not this type guy, just talks at one tone. It's gonna be at whatever level that you go. That's your personality. But if that's successful for you, I'm gonna support it. It's my job as an administrator to be able to support whatever you need, whatever fit your style.
Indeed. AD Drew, Morehouse College. Pleasure to talk to you as always, sir.
All right, man.
All right, man. Good one here in SIAC. Sit down. We'll take a break here from SWAC Media Day. Hopefully get on a couple more coaches. All right, stay tuned. All right, we are back here on the SIAC Sit Down, and we have the privilege to have Charles McClellan of the SWAC Conference. Dr. McClellan, thank you for coming.
No, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
No, thank you for having me.
Now I cover the SIAC, but the relationship and the games, there are about 10 games between those two conferences. I kind of want to, off the cuff just a little bit. Not necessarily the matchups, but talk about the HBCU football alliance and what that's been to all these conferences.
Well, I can tell you those games that are on the schedule have been intentional. Have a wonderful relationship with Anthony Holloman, your commissioner, and we've talked about making sure that those games stay on our schedule. Well, we passed a rule last year that in 27 we're no longer playing any NAIA schools, so it's going to be Division I, and we specifically kept Division II in because of those traditional rivalries, the Tuskegees, the Morehouses, with our Alabama State, with our Alabama A&M, just the Jackson State, the Miles. So there's a lot of tradition there that we wanted to keep. The four commissioners getting together, again, that was intentional. This space is small, and we wanted to make sure that we had a unified voice, and I think the Black College Football Poll is one of those major things that came out of that relationship.
Absolutely. And those games are when it comes to just what the SIAC do, coaches have come into the swing from the SIAC.
That's right.
They've taken that step up, so I know that relationship is important. Just saw the press release that another multi-year contract with ESPN and the SWAC TV. Listen, it's some big time things going on with the SWAC. But when it comes to just what the next progression of your conference is, where do you foresee that?
Well, I think we need to continue to progress on a lot of levels. This is Football Media Day, so I can talk about football. But, we have 17 other sports that we are concentrating on, that we have a lot of attention to detail. Right? So for basketball, we have to look at a lot of scheduling changes to be able to get our net up, to be able to do some different things as the NCAA is starting to evolve. But overall, we put a lot of emphasis on SWAC TV. SWAC TV, we think, is going to be the future of the Southwestern Athletic populated conference, not only from an exposure standpoint, but from a revenue standpoint. But you tie that into what we're doing with ESPN and HBCU Go. Every one of our games are on some national platform. And with SWAC TV, we can now highlight sports that HBCU Go and or ESPN might not necessarily be interested in or don't have the capacity to show. We'll be able to show that on SWAC TV, and our numbers on SWAC TV have shown that as many people, and in some instances more, watch SWAC TV than they watch some of those other platforms. So it's been a tremendous positive boost for us, and I think in the next 3 to 5 years, you're going to see us increase our overall level of performance based upon what SWAC TV has been able to deliver, not only from an exposure standpoint, but from a revenue standpoint.
Now, I'm going to ask one final question. I know you're busy. The SIAC network has come on board last year. How much just info that you have exchanged with Dr. Holland about putting this on have you all talked about?
Very little, and keep in mind our model is different than the model that the SIAC has, at least from my understanding. And the difference is the level in which we have to send ours out. We actually pay for third-party production to go out. So the same people that we were contracted to do our games and send them to ESPN, they're sending them to SWAC TV, right? So we put a considerable amount of resources. Even at the FCS level, most of those conferences are having the schools send them content. For football and basketball, we're actually sending third parties out because of the model that we have, and to be able to generate the level of sponsorship, to be able to go on and not want to get too technical in ad servicing and have third parties to buy into. You have to have a certain quality. It has to have certain specifics to it that our schools may not necessarily be able to bring. So because of our revenue generating projections, we have to have a different servicing level. So we've had to contract out. We've had to put more money into that than just the normal creating a platform and having schools sending in. Now we do have some games that are sent in. That's going to change as well as we continue to level up. But we're concentrating where the money is, and that's football and basketball. And we actually send third-party production companies to go out, film them the same way ESPN, the same way Prime does. They might have bigger trucks and more cameras, but we're doing the same thing there.
Thank you for your time, Dr. McClellan.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure talking to you.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
SIAC, sit down here. Talking to Dr. Charles McClellan, Commissioner of the SWAC. Gracious with his time as always. Being able to come here for the last few years, and we've been able to he's been ready, give vital information. So that's a good thing. We're gonna take a break for our next interview. Glad you could join us here on the SIAC Center.
I ain't got a long drive like some of these guys.
All right, here on the SIAC sit down, we have no further than Mr. Coach Eddie Robinson. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. I appreciate you hanging out with us here at the SWAC Media Day. It's always a great time of year.
Absolutely. Now, when it comes to just your demeanor, you've always been gracious with your time, even doing work for Black College Sports Network and all the things. But I'm covering the SIAC. That's the SIAC sit down, and you have a couple of SIAC opponents that we're going to be talking about. You matched up with Lane this year, I think, and of course Turkey Day Classic with Tuskegee. Talk about how important the SIAC has been as far as not even necessarily your development as a coach, but just the matchups between the squads. You had epic matchups with Miles, and you've had some games, but just talk about that for a second.
I think it's important. I mean, it's all HBCU football. I mean, the message that they're preaching is the same message that we're preaching. We're just trying to develop young men. We know that the future of what we're doing here in this country is all about what are we putting into these young men as individuals, not football players. And so we can develop the young man first and the football player take care of itself. And so the same type of player that's being recruited to Lane or Tuskegee or Miles is the same type of player that I'm recruiting. It's a kid that probably has something physically we need to work on, something emotionally or psychologically we need to work on, and it's some type of development that needs to be done. So we spend a lot of time developing players. Like most of the players, they leave us being better players and better men than when we got them. And so I think just from the mission of where we are as HBCUs and where we are in the landscape, it's just a great spot to be in NCAA and college football. So I love being here. I know the coaches in the SIAC, Aaron and those guys, Coach Connors. I mean, I know the message that they're preaching to their kids is the same message I'm preaching to mine.
Absolutely, absolutely. And when it comes to just within your coaching development, and not necessarily just the SIAC, but you're in your what? What's this, year 4?
Fifth year.
Fifth year now. Listen, listen.
Time don't stop, right?
It just goes. But talk about what you want to do now in this progression of this Alabama State team.
Well, yeah, it's time for us to win a championship. I mean, there's no other way to put it. I mean, we've done everything else but that. And so now we have to get to the SWAC East, and we know how hard that is with FAM and Jackson and Alabama A&M, Valley, all the schools are right there. And so Bethune-Cookman, who's gotten a lot better from last year with what he's doing, so those guys are coming back confident. So we know for us, just to get to the SWAC championship is going to be a feat. So we have to take it a step at a time. And so the first step is to get ready for Southern University, the first game. And I think if you have that week-by-week, win-today approach, then you don't get caught up in the big picture of what you're trying to accomplish, because you can't do the big things if you don't do the small things right. So that's the message that we're preaching on a daily basis.
You bring back a really good team, starting with quarterback Andrew Body. Suffered through injury last year, but you still kind of kept that train going regardless. Have you always had that next man up mentality?
Yeah, so I think people say a next man up, but to me it's just the identity of the team. If I have like-minded individuals who are committed to the same identity that I'm preaching as a head coach, and then it's just something that naturally happens. Like the next person expects to be able to do the job. Like he wants to do the job. He's waiting for his opportunity to do the job, but at the same time he's rooting for his teammate. I think if you can have that type of truly team approach, and one big thing we started last year, be a star in your role. Like your role may be, I'm going to be the best practice player I can be to get Andrew Body ready to play. But then the next year, I'm actually on the field doing what I was working with against Andrew Body. And so I think if you can convince kids in whatever role you're in, whether it's a developmental role, you could be the principal of a school, running a Fortune 500 company, you want everybody to feel like that their role is important, because if that role is not being done, then it can affect the whole organization.
Absolutely. I said I wasn't going to keep you long, but I appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
Again, here on the SIAC Sit Down. You got Lane, you got Tuskegee. There'll be some big-time games. Hopefully, we'll get to see those and see a good one. I appreciate your time.
I appreciate you, man, always.
Absolutely. Thank you again for coming on the SIAC Sit Down. Listen, we're going to keep it live here. We're going to grab our next interview. It's a good one. Again, hearing about these SIAC opponents has been awesome here. The SWAC has been gracious enough to keep us within the fold, and we've been talking about those really all day. Those matchups are prevalent, and you can see how important they are as far as those keeping the continuity within those. It has been another great episode of the SIAC Sit Down, but look, we need you to follow even afterwards on IG, SIAC SITDOWN, and on YouTube under the same name, and on Facebook, Sly.
On Facebook, they can find us on Facebook. We got a SIAC page on Facebook, and we also have a SIAC Talks group on Facebook. Make sure you check us out. You can find us everywhere you want to find us. Facebook, Instagram, we're even on Spotify.
Yeah, look at that. So look, make sure you like and subscribe to all our mediums, and make sure you're following the SIAC Sit Down.